know we lost people. Last time I was here. I knew guys, they go out outside the wire for patrol or whatever, and they just never came back. It's kind of unreal. Like, one day, they're just gone. So I get it. I really do. I know why you have to do this. And that's why I wanted to come with you. Not often you get a chance to bring back the dead. But I guess we just gotta make sure we don't die though, right?
Guys, welcome back to RTC Craig, and joining me today is Callum.
Hi guys.
Hello, we are doing a discussion video about this game coming out soon, early 2018 for consoles, we think anyway, which is Insurgency Sandstorm. Insurgency has had a big following on Steam and whatnot. As a PC game, it's a indie shooter game title that's worked off the Source engine, but now it's being built up in a Unreal Engine 4 now, and it's coming to PC and console, which is actually very, very exciting. Just to give you a bit of a hint about it, this new game, which is absolutely, I think is going to be fun as hell to play, has you playing as a female insurgent fighter, basically an anti-insurgent fighter, who, well, it's basically based on real life events about actually identifying or naming any factions in the real world. It's giving you that idea. You play as a female protagonist who is, at the beginning of the story, she's actually been captured or enslaved by a enemy militia group or whatever, or organization I should say, and then thus let's say a firefight breaks out throughout the town that she's been held in. Her cell wall's been destroyed and she's been released, and now possibly leaving behind her little sister that was with her and escaping with a friend that she was friends with while they were being imprisoned. But then later on the story will actually zoom out, go about, I don't know, God knows how many years forward, and then she's actually fighting along the Kurdish forces in a real world event comparison. The Kurdish forces that are currently fighting ISIS in the Middle East, which is quite an interesting concept to it, because we haven't had a real feel kind of game in a very long time.
Yeah, the way the guys from Insurgency have described this campaign is it's not going to be like a big blockbuster, all-in-your-face Call of Duty style explosions everywhere like a Michael Bay movie. The way they described it is sort of a indie movie. There's a lot more nuanced campaign.
So it's really like close and personal kind of stuff, like you're actually there but not actually there. I can't describe it very well, I apologize for that. But with that, it's not all of that. Like you play as the Kurdish fighter there, you play as the female protagonist with her friend, and then you meet up with two different men, one of them being a US Army veteran from the Iraq War, who's now a vigilante fighter as it's described, but he's a foreign fighter in the Middle East helping the Kurds, and then a French citizen who has no real combat experience but is also helping, basically, well, let's put it in the sense of a real world term, they're basically foreign fighters helping to fight back against ISIS, which is an interesting concept to the story. And it's been described that it's kind of going to be like a road trip kind of thing. Something pulls her away from the group that she's with right now, and she has to go and travel across this Middle Eastern desolate land, basically. And we don't know what that is exactly yet, but it has me very interested. It has me thinking, is it the sister? Is it her family, other family members, or whatnot? Even other friends, or a big important mission as well. Maybe even taking down a very high-ranking militant officer on the enemy side.
Yeah, one thing I do like about this is because it is such a fluid storyline, the missions that you're going to play are going to be really, really, really planned and involved, and the objectives are going to be realistic. It's not just going to be, just go in here and kill 200 enemies and it's mission done. Like, you might have to take out like a major player who might have enslaved a female character, or an insurgent commander who might have killed one of the friends of the former US soldier.
Right, regarding the rebuttal to your comment there, apologies, but regarding that, it's mainly focused around the female protagonist, which I don't mind in this sense. Like a lot of people are saying, like, oh, like let's say the controversy that was brought up about Call of Duty, where they were going to have female true soldiers throughout the campaign, which wasn't very common sight during World War II, because, well, for example, there wasn't women running around on the beaches in Normandy. But there were the French resistant fighters and the Belgian like the partisans and the resistant fighters throughout Europe, and then in the Soviet Union there was female soldiers. Of course there was there, because they needed everyone in that sense. But in this one it's more of a real feel to it, because this is actually happening right now. It's on the news. It's being shown everywhere, really. And they're fighting for their country, basically, which I can respect a lot. And I can respect the new interactive, apologies, I can't remember the developer name right offhand. I'm a bit nervous doing this. The guys who behind Insurgency are actually going for a real world field for once, like where a lot of game developers stray away and do more blockbuster actiony stuff, as you said before. There's also let's see, there's also an interesting mechanic. There's most parts you can either attack or, you know, kill or do the normal thing, but tactics come into it as well. You don't have a HUD in this. You don't have like I can imagine you might have a basic HUD, like a ammo counter, and that's about it. But you don't get like fancy weapons at the beginning. You probably use from M16s to AK-47s to M9s and whatnot, or Russian-based weaponry, or weapons that have been dropped in by Allied forces. You also have the idea during the trailer is that you actually have Allied airstrikes happening, because you can hear a Warthog A10 firing its main weapon into a building, basically, like it's a Gatling gun, chain gun. What kind of gun is that again? It's a Gatling gun, isn't it?
It's a Gatling gun.
Yeah, firing, and you can hear the unique Gatling gun reverb up, it's like and then you see the building being literally peppered by it. So that's going to make it interesting, but also with the story in hand, you actually have to avoid U.S. American forces and militias as well. We don't really know what happens there. Maybe it's the fact that maybe it has to relate to the American character, who he might have gone AWOL, or he's been over there illegally, and maybe it's frowned. Like in certain real case scenarios, it's frowned upon to fight as a foreign fighter in this conflict at the moment. But it's kind of interesting that they're mixing some real world consequences for your actions into the game and showing it. And it's going to be revolving around these four people, basically. And I think it's primarily going to be revolving around the female protagonist and the American protagonist, the war veteran, in a sense. But yeah, it's pretty much it. It's going to be it's going to be a very interesting story, at least. As it's been said online, it's going to take about 3 hours to complete. But it doesn't end there. It's a cooperative gameplay as well. There's light vehicles in the story mode as well. They can use nothing heavy, probably like jeeps or pickup trucks or the occasional Humvee or something like that.
Yeah, technical, something like that.
Yeah, and it needs a car that fits 4 people in it. But let's stray off that for the moment and actually talk about the multiplayer that'll be coming to the game as well, which, you know, it makes it you know.
It's the bread and butter of this game. It's what the game's been built on. The sort of campaign is something I would totally say new. I'm not an Insurgency fan. It's totally new. It's a massive selling point to try and bring it in line to compete with these AAA titles. But with a 3-hour campaign, it's got something that shits on most AAA titles now, because they've got, like, what is it? A 2-hour campaign, most games.
Some games, some have like 4 or 5 hours, but with like most AAA shooters, it's probably like 2 hours max for like a campaign to be finished.
Yeah.
Depending on difficulty, basically. But spanning around that, basically they've been talking about their competitive multiplayer and their multiplayer modes that they had from the original Insurgency. They're now, but like in the original one, it was all basically hardcore infantry combat. But now, for the first time, I think, at the moment, I don't know, I'm not too sure about Insurgency right now, that's out. I know there is a version of Sandstorm out, I'm not too sure, apologies about that, but there is light vehicles there.
I think it's early access on Steam.
That's a there's the early access one that's still in the Source engine, I believe. And
Yes.
they're now building and incorporating the game around like vehicle centric multiplayer modes, which would make sense. So like in Insurgency 1 you have like the invasion of Iraq and you have Afghanistan. So you have Humvees, you have heavyish like strikers or whatnot, or the Marine amphibious tank as well that they use in Iraq and Afghanistan, which would be an interesting way to see it there. But the game is, it's focused on competitive multiplayer, which is a good thing in a sense of it, because this is kind of giving it a great immersive feel to it. Like, there's no HUD. Like, if you get shot, you're going down. You're not coming
I
back.
do very similar shot mechanics to Verdun. One or two if you're lucky.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Certain game modes like push is being brought back into it as well. They have like let's see, they have like modes like firefight where there are three on the competitive side, and well, they have three objectives that you go through, and you respawn your team when an objective is captured. So the only way to respawn your team is taking over the objective with whatever troops you have left. But they're also scaling it for larger battles as well. So it's been reported that it'll be 32 players on it, so that's like what, 16 a team. So that'll make it very interesting, very dynamic. It'd be half platoon strength or convoy strength, basically, to fight each other. So you could have probably American forces during the multiplayer and whatnot, or any forces that have been in the real world comparison, anyway. And then you have the insurgents, and then you have the rebels, and then you have like the basically the ISIS of this game, I can imagine, or the Al Qaeda,
the
or
bad
whatnot.
guys.
The bad guys, basically, which will probably mix up play styles a lot. You have let's say you play as the Allied side, what's called the friendly side. You have vehicles.
The coalition.
Yeah, the coalition. You basically have like vehicles and whatnot, and you'd have to use convoy strength, tactics. You really have to keep an eye on your environment. It is a first-person shooter, but like combat can happen anywhere. So imagine you could be driving down the street, you think, oh, I'm pretty safe, I have a Humvee 50 caliber machine gun on top, pretty good, throw that out the window and you could be probably hit from an RPG hidden in some dead ground, and it basically stops the convoy and an ambush would happen. That's what I want to see in the multiplayer modes, where you can actually have a dynamic fighting system. It's all team based. You don't get rewarded for individual scoring. It's all team based, which is great.
The mechanics of this game really, really, really are encouraging the team play. And if you're not a team player, find another fucking game.
True.
This game ain't for you.
No, it's not for you. But for like us, well, on the channel anyway, we love playing together. We love using team tactics and working as a team. So it'd probably be right up our alley. Well, but we like the idea that it's not going to be in the Source engine. It's going to be redone. This game is being rebuilt in the Unreal 4 engine, so it actually looks quite nice. It looks quite well. It's more livelier than Source.
Yeah. So the graphics do look a hell of a lot more crisp, and the gameplay looks a lot more fluid.
So, adding into that right now, they're actually adding in a horde mode, which is quite interesting as well. I imagine that's like a 4-man team, or no, it's an 8-man team for a horde mode, I believe. So it's a squad. So you battle forward, capturing checkpoints, revive any fallen allies, and then you keep fighting. You keep the fight going. So you keep clearing checkpoints till you're done. So that means you're constantly like either retreat, like pulling back, reorganizing, and then moving forward again and adapting to what the enemy does, or you completely get wiped out. This game is going to be difficult. Like what I've heard from people online and reading through like Steam comments and YouTube comments, this is a hardcore FPS, and for it to be released on console is going to be an interesting change. Like we have Battlefield, we have Verdun, we have Call of Duty, but like Verdun is probably the most closest one to a milled sim or a tactically correct game. But it's also an indie title as well. It's a good game, but it's based in World War One. I'd say it's the closest thing to an actual World War One game, a World War One game, than what Battlefield's going for, which is it's constantly fast-paced, access to lots of vehicles. Unless you're playing operations, where it makes sense there, where you're constantly attacking, holding and attacking. And but yeah, it's a pretty good mix of gameplay for a fast-paced shooter, but this one kind of makes you want to think about what you're going to do. What's your next step? How are you going to get to this objective without losing or gaining too many casualties?
Yeah, this because you're playing with that sort of mindset in there. You really, really, really got to step your game up on how you want to play tactically. So I know a lot of the guys in the comment section mention how they play similar to us, or they'd like to play with people similar to us. In the future, we may be, depending on how this game goes for us, we may be working it into being a community title.
Yeah, we would actually, like every week or every 2 weeks, we probably do it as a community game. Select at least there's going to be 5 of us who like do the videos on the channel, so a certain amount of us goes on the good guy side and a certain amount of us goes on the bad guy side, and we lead basically you guys into battle. Like considering that we have 2 members of the group that have had active military service, we probably have to pick who goes on each side, so everyone has an equal advantage then. But
If you say that.
yeah,
So.
if I say so. But add into what else is quite good about this game, we do love our like our customization. Apologies, I'm tongue twisted. Like our custom, I can't pronounce the word. I'm so sorry. Custom abilities, or like customizing our characters and whatnot. This will be available in the game. It will have character customization. You can unlock cosmetic items. You can unlock fire support requests, and with ranked matchmaking as well. There's a lot of on the competitive streak. I can imagine there's a lot of community rewards with that, and showing off the game as well, which would be great. So that's pretty much it. Like having Sandstorm now would be great, but we're going to probably get it early 2018. That's the rumor anyway. I can't confirm that. Apologies. But having a game where you have like immersive realism into it, I wouldn't say it's a complete mil sim, because mil sim has everything like helicopters, jets, all that kind of stuff that you can control and sort out plans in a larger player base. But like this one on the console, it kind of reminded me of that game Squad, which is pretty intense looking, and I really want to play it.
One day when I own a PC.
One day when I own a PC. But yeah, this is pretty much us covering Insurgency now. We hope you enjoyed the video. We had a lot of fun talking about the game today. We actually had a big debate about it earlier on as well before we recorded, and it's going to be an interesting title hitting consoles now. Maybe we're going to see an uprising, like people like mil sims, or not very arcade shooters kind of titles now. A lot of people are going to love Call of Duty and Battlefield, but there's communities that really want a tactical and immersive experience, which I hope we can all get.
Yeah.
Well, folks, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next time on RTC. See you guys. Have a good one.
Cheers, guys. Thanks a lot.